Geoffrey Epstein, the evil billionaire sicko with ties to the rich and powerful, supposedly committed suicide this past weekend. Leftists such as Cory and Beto O'Rourke are up in arms because President Trump added his thoughts to the mix. Democrat Kamala Harris had some strong words regarding the ICE raids in Mississippi, and another American athlete takes a knee at the Pan American Games. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's dive right into it. We've got a lot to cover. And the first is Geoffrey Epstein. You know, he is the billionaire who is in jail, was in jail for sex trafficking allegations, all sorts of inappropriate activities, ties to rich and powerful politicians, movie people, you name it. He's been held incarcerated pending his trial. And supposedly he committed suicide this weekend. And it's very, very strange, has a lot of people talking. And just last night, the Washington Post put a story at about 11:30 last night, and I wanted to go over that because it kind of sums up some of the things that happened this weekend. And check this out. Officers should have been checking on Epstein, who was being held in a special housing unit of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City every 30 minutes. And under normal circumstances, he also should have had a cellmate, according to the person familiar with the matter and union officials representing facility employees. But a person who had been assigned to share a cell with Epstein was transferred on Friday, and for reasons that investigators are still exploring, he did not receive a new cellmate, the person familiar with the matter said Sunday night. That left Epstein, who had previously been placed on suicide watch, alone and unmonitored, at least in the hours before his death, by even those officers assigned to guard him. All right, so that has a lot of people talking. And when word first broke, President Trump got on Twitter. He retweeted a couple of articles of ideas that just really highlighted the ties between Epstein and powerful Democrats, including the Clintons and Bill Clinton in particular. He tweeted those, and the media and Democrats just went wild with it. Jake Tapper over at CNN was talking to Cory, and he led into that interview with this.
I want to get your reaction to the president retweeting this deranged conspiracy theory, obviously no evidence, falsely linking Jeffrey Epstein's death by apparent suicide to an alleged murder by the president's political opponents. What's your reaction?
So yeah, that's quite a lead-in for Booker. It's basically the softest of softballs, allowing Booker to just launch into President Trump. And here's what Booker said.
He's giving life to not just conspiracy theories, but really whipping people up into anger and worse against different people in this country. And so this is a tired way that the president does. He's been using the Clintons as a means for a lot of his false accusation.
So Cory Booker talks about tired tactics, and yet it's his tactics that are tired and just, they're getting you so much. You just blame. You try and attack Trump. You say he's dividing, and you just reinforce that over and over and over again. And from the same playbook, he wasn't the only one talking. Beto O'Rourke, also trying to milk some publicity, was on CNN as well. And here's what he said. He said, O'Rourke added during a separate interview on the Sunday morning talk show that the president's retweet is another example of Trump using his position to attack political enemies with unfounded conspiracy theories. Trump is changing the conversations so we can't focus on the real problems that he is part of, O'Rourke added, singling out gun violence and anti-immigrant sentiments as two issues Trump is fueling through his rhetoric. All right, so President Trump's senior advisor, Kellyanne Conway, was on the Sunday shows as well, addressing Trump's tweets or retweets, and here's how she described it.
I think the president just wants everything to be investigated, as your reporter just revealed just the day before. There was some unsealed information implicating some people very high up, and I'm not going to repeat their names. You already did that. I'm not saying anything beyond that.
So will we have a full investigation? That's the key. I mean, there are countless victims out there, and now Epstein is gone. And so how are they going to get justice? And I guarantee there are a lot of rich and powerful people that were shaking in their boots with Epstein in jail, not knowing what he would say, and they're resting a lot easier with him gone. So hopefully they'll find out what happened at this holding facility and get to the bottom of it, because it's really, really strange. And we've got to figure out what's going on to have a cellmate, but then have the cellmate transferred and not get another one, have guards not monitoring it. It's just all really strange. So President Trump also took heat this weekend from Senator Kamala Harris. She's all upset because of the ICE raids that happened in Mississippi during this past week. 680 illegal aliens were rounded up at food processing facilities in Mississippi. These are people that came in illegally, continue to do illegal activities, and they were rounded up just like President Trump said he was going to do, just like he's supposed to do in enforcing the law. And having comments from Harris is really just the epitome of ridiculous, because she was a prosecutor. She is in charge of trying to enforce laws after someone is caught. And now the president and law enforcement officials are trying to enforce laws, and they get criticized for it because it is a position and an issue of illegal immigration that the Democrats don't want solved. So she went on Meet the Press, and here's what she said.
This administration has directed DHS to conduct these raids as part of what I believe is this administration's campaign of terror.
So wow, enforcing immigration laws is now a campaign of terror. That is what she is calling it. Enforcing our laws is a campaign of terror. And that's just insane to phrase it like that. And again, this is what divides people when you have rhetoric like this. And she went on.
Which is to make whole populations of people afraid to go to work. Children are afraid to go to school for fear that when they come home, their parents won't be there. Parents are afraid to send their children to the pediatrician for fear that that will be contact with others.
So that's her campaign of terror. And yes, these situations are tough. If there are children involved, it's no doubt that these situations are tough. It's tough on the kids. It could be scary for the kids. But just think about this, all right? Every day in America, there are men and women who have children, and for some reason or another, they decide to go out and commit crimes, whether it's robbing a bank or burglarizing a house or even smaller things like that, crimes that end up with them being arrested and possibly then charged, tried, found guilty, and sent to prison. What happens to those kids? Okay, this happens every single day in America, and no one from the left is talking about those children, and those numbers are huge compared to what's happening with illegal aliens. And yet no one talks about it because the left knows that that's not the real issue. They don't care about the welfare of these kids. Otherwise, they'd be protesting what happens every day in America to kids of American criminals, but they don't, because they see this as the open borders issue. They see this as a voting bloc that will come in and they hope will vote Democrat and keep them in power for decades and generations to come. That's what this is about. It's nothing else. And when they go all up in arms because we're enforcing immigration laws, you need to know that that's their motive. That's what their agenda. It has nothing to do with families or anything like that. It's trying to get the U.S. to not enforce its existing laws, to get them changed, so we essentially have open borders. So next, I want to talk to you about the Pan American Games, because guess what? We're fresh off the Women's World Cup, where our athletes go out of their way to draw attention to themselves, a few in particular, and not the team, all right? Not America, not the country that they're representing. And it happened again. Here is a picture of Rayson Bowden. He is a fencer, and on the podium during the medal ceremony, he decides to take a knee. And here's a report from the Daily Caller. It says, Rayson Bowden, an Olympic medalist and multi-time Pan American champion, decided Friday that the medal podium of this year's Pan American Games was an appropriate time to take a knee to protest what he perceives as America's failings. And Bowden stated that while he was honored to represent Team USA at the Pan Am Games, The multiple shortcomings of America have cut short his pride in his team. He listed racism, gun control, the mistreatment of immigrants, and a president who spreads hate as issues that are at the top of a long list. Okay, so Bowden went on Twitter and he actually added this to one of his tweets. It says, I choose to sacrifice my moment today at the top of the podium to call attention to issues that I believe need to be addressed. I encourage others to please use your platforms for empowerment and change. All right, so here's the thing though. He didn't sacrifice his moment. He put the moment on himself. He took it away from the United States and the accomplishments of his team to focus on himself in a very selfish and disrespectful way. Whenever you put on the jersey, whenever it says USA, you are not representing yourself. You are representing your country, and every word, every action that you do at these games should reflect positively on the country that you represent. And these moments like this, if he wants to draw attention to what he perceives are some bad things in America, do it on his own time. All right? Protest, sign petitions, rally, do whatever, run for office. But this idea that somehow he is sacrificing because he took a knee when really he's just looking for his 15 minutes, well, congratulations, he got it. And there was another American athlete, Gwen Berry. She raised her fist during her medal ceremony to protest President Trump. And the thing that really bugs me is that this gets overlooked and gets allowed by the U.S. Olympic committees and these teams and organizations, and they are the ones that need to do something. If an athlete is representing the country, nothing that should happen that draws attention to the athlete and away from the country. And maybe this time something actually will happen, because here is a report that the U.S. Olympic Committee may have had enough. Here it is. It says the political protest could lead to disciplinary action by U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Every athlete competing at the 2019 Pan American Games commits to terms of eligibility, including to refrain from demonstrations that are political in nature. In this case, Race didn't adhere to the commitment he made to the organizing committee and the USOPC. Mark Jones, Vice President of Communications, USOPC, said in a statement on Saturday. So hopefully something will be done, because athletes should not be doing this. Let them do it on its own times. It's obvious. It's common sense. Go and represent your country. Protest later. So finally, we talked about the movie The Hunt. You know, that was originally called Red State versus Blue State, where Hollywood thought it was a good idea to take liberal elites and have them show them hunting down and killing red state deplorables, i.e. Trump supporters. So they took a hiatus. They announced that they're going to take a hiatus on advertising for this movie that's scheduled to be released in September. But now, through the backlash and the protests, they've gone a step further and they've just canceled the release. Here is the report right here. It says, Universal Pictures has canceled the planned September release of its controversial social satire, The Hunt, in the wake of recent mass shootings and amid criticism from President Donald Trump. The move came several days after the studio suspended the ad campaign for the film, a gory R-rated thriller that tells the tale of liberal elites hunting red states for sport. In a statement Saturday, Universal said it had decided to take a further step of canceling the film's September 27th release, saying, "We understand that now is not the right time to release this film." So congratulations, folks. We scored a victory. The outrage, the backlash from this, from conservatives, was so great that, I mean, the film couldn't go anywhere with Hollywood and the left talking about toning down the rhetoric and ending violence, and then they put something out like this out that targets Trump supporters. It was outrageous. And now, at least for now, the film is gone. It won't even be released. So, folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go. And no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also, for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.